Okay, so we were looking at the SPO model for quality of writing, mainly in year 5, but we also used it in year 6 as well. 3 year 5, 6 classes, which we were working on. So yeah, do you want to go on, Will? We've got nearly 400 pupils on roll from 4 to 11. We've also got a 60-place nursery, 2:30 sessions, AM and PM. 53% free school meals, and it's not on there, but we are within the 10% most deprived area in Wales as well. Very similar sort of cohort to Hill, but most of ours are from English, Welsh speaking, or English speaking backgrounds. As a percentage, it's about 90%. So slightly different on that side. So yes, no pupils speak Welsh at home, but as I say, there are some EAL pupils. Yeah, do you want to move on? Basically, one of our priorities is really to improve the level of literacy and numeracy across the school, because of where we're from. There isn't a particularly high emphasis on education, and children are coming into school really behind where we really hope for them to be. Quite a lot of children haven't got, they're coming in almost mute in their communication. It's really low, and so by the time they get to us, there's a lot going on, but they are not where you would normally expect a year 5 to be at the beginning of the year. So yeah, we've been working really hard on that. So that's been our SDP, our SIP priority number 1 for this year and for the last couple of years. So we wanted to see how using the Hodgman could help. Ested, when they last visited in 2016, they even saw it then. The majority of pupils join the school with speaking and listening skills that are lower than expected for their age, which is still an issue. Post-pandemic, it's even lower. But that's where we are. So yes, initial assessments at the beginning of the year place children reading on average at age 7 to 8. Several pupils below 6 years. Our national reading figures shot up across the year this year, which is really good to see. But we were not doing particularly well on our raw scores at the beginning of the year. Our writing age equivalency was even lower, as an average of 6 to 7 in year 5. Children in our catchment have little exposure to literacy outside of the classroom. Many also don't engage with TV and film. YouTube, TikTok is pretty much it. That's it. So it comes across in their writing. They're not very imaginative. It's very difficult for them to have something you can sort of bring in from outside that they are aware of. Their experience is just so thin. Secondary issue is the lack of exposure, is in the structure of sentences and paragraphs. It's all very spoken in their style of language. And so it lacks flow and organisation in fiction and non-fiction. So we ran the inquiry over the autumn and spring terms, obviously the training going on in the autumn terms, but we really enjoyed some of the stuff that we were seeing in those earlier sessions, and we employed those straight away in class. We went right back to basics, really developing sentence structure, which was what we were doing anyway, but we started to use the Hodgman techniques there. And then we saw how it was coming along, and we thought, right, how can the SPO be used to improve that organisation, having based on the grammatical structure, how can we use that then to build coherent structure in year 5? So the class theme of legacy was seen as our opportunity for using the SPO. We did a couple of cold writes just to see how their non-fiction was looking, and we said, let's do some biographies. So we asked them to write one paragraph about the Formula 1 driver Lewis Hamilton. We gave them some keywords, and we asked them to summarize him and his legacy. It was an open-ended task. They had 45 minutes. Off you go. They had a plenty of time. And this was one of my more able writers, the paragraph they came up with. 7-time Formula 1 world champion, the most successful F1 driver because he came from a poor background. He was the first black F1 driver, and he is a prominent leader in equal rights. Black Lives Matters. He inspired many children of non-white backgrounds and took to look into motorsports as a career. I'm sure you'll agree, it's probably not the most well-organized paragraph you'll ever read, but that's one of our more able writers at the beginning of the year. So we then obviously used the writing resources from the Writing Revolution. We built our own sort of format based on that, so essentially the same structure, we just jazzed it up a little bit so the kids were a little bit more interested, and asked them, and we sort of worked on different subjects, so different people, to build up this idea of a biography using the SPO, so that they could go on then to write independently using this model. They could research somebody that they found interesting and build on that. So we started off with Queen Elizabeth II, looking at topic sentences. That was fun, trying to make them think about what are you writing about? What is your subject? They built on that. We had a look at a few different key areas, and obviously the conclusion. What was their legacy? That's what we were looking for their conclusion to be. What was the person's legacy? What do we want the reader to take away? And obviously the supporting detail in the middle. So we built on this over a couple of lessons. Each lesson was about a different person. And after each one then, right, okay, let's build this into a paragraph. And it started to improve, and we've seen it again and again, stepping forward each time, which is really nice to see. So this is the same writer again as the previous paragraph. And then we moved into an independent one. So they chose their own hero that we've been looking into. And hopefully you can see the improvement. This is the same writer. Malala is a hero to many girls and young people around the world, and is an international symbol of fight for girls' education. I mean, that sentence on its own is far better because we've really sort of been looking at that process, and they've developed it and improved as they've gone on, which is essentially what we've seen. You know, it's worked really well. The fact that the structure, giving a scaffold for the children, has really allowed them then to concentrate on what it is they're talking about, rather than just too much information at once. So following this task, the paragraphs were assessed alongside the Cold-Write task using our assessment framework. And it was clear that all learners had made progress. Lower ability ALN learners were able to organise their ideas clearly, whilst more able children found that the structure freed them up to extend sentences using strategies introduced in the build-up, developing compound sentences, complex ones, with features such as appositives. Although there's a general improvement in quality, there is still room for improvement, as the general fluency is inconsistent. So it's going to be an ongoing task. So it's clear that explicit teaching the SPO model, that the impact has been impressive and shows the value of the approach. However, we think that we need to be really, obviously we trialed this in year 5 and 6, but we think, you know, there's so much scope to bring it in much earlier on, building on those more basic skills, so that by the time we get to year 5, the SPO is entrenched, and we can be looking at the multiple paragraph system and really build on that, because there's no reason why at year 3, year 2, maybe year 2 might be a bit young, but year 3 certainly can be using these scaffolds to really get the quality of writing going earlier on. That's essentially the summary there. So yeah, we're really pleased. So our next steps are going to be CPD on the TWR approach through all staff earlier in the year, so that we can roll it out to years 3 to 6. So we've got continuity and development of the skills, so that by the time they get to 5 and 6, we're looking at much more independent writers, and writers of higher quality. So we're looking forward to next year, because obviously year 5 are going to year 6, so they'll have a good understanding, and we can build on that from the beginning of the year. The year 4 is coming to me in 5 next year. We'll be introducing that, and hopefully next year's year 3 will also be, because that's literacy leader and she's very into this as well. She'll be bringing it in as well. So part of next year's STP will be continuation of the push to improve all aspects of LLC. Hodgman method and the writing revolution will be the foundation of this.